Hi, I'm Harry Legg. I got into voiceover through the radio side of things. I began as a teenager and moved all around the country, working in 8 different cities in just about every format. I've been an air personality, news guy, music director, creative director, program director. Things really took off for me when I worked at Kiss FM and Energy in Chicago. From there, I moved to LA and worked at Kiss FM, and it was when I moved from Chicago to LA that I began to take voiceover really seriously. I emailed a pretty prominent voiceover guy in the business and just introduced myself. I asked him if he could point me in the right direction, and he got back to me and said, "Take voiceover classes." At first, I was really taken aback. I mean, I had just come from Chicago, Market 3, and I've been voicing commercials for a couple of decades now, and this guy's telling me to take a voiceover class. But fortunately, I didn't let my ego get the best of me. I found a voiceover coach whose website posed some questions to you, the potential voiceover student, such as what is your signature voice? How do you deal with agents, casting directors, and all the various protocols involved in a studio session? And I saw that, wow, this is definitely different than the radio world. And radio, I had come to learn, is kind of a bad word in the voiceover industry. There's definitely a prejudice against radio voiceover people. And unfortunately, I can kind of understand why. When you spend 4 to maybe 6 hours a day on the air talking over Matchbox 20, Beyonce, or Justin Timberlake, there's a certain hype or cadence to your voice. And what happens is you get off the air and you go into the radio station production studio to record your commercials for the day. And invariably, you have that same delivery, that same hype. And that just doesn't work in the agency level of the voiceover world. So you definitely need coaching. You need to have that radio beaten out of you. And if you're coming at voiceover from a side that isn't in radio, you still need coaching because there's so many things that you just don't know until you have a professional pointing you in the right direction, working with your inflection, with the way you interpret scripts, and then, what are the proper ways to market yourself? There's just so much involved, so coaching is imperative. So to give you an idea of who we're competing with, I was at my agent's office. This is before the days of just sending in an MP3 of your audition. You'd go in, they'd hand you a script, you'd go out into the lobby, and you'd look it over, practice it until they call you in to record. And who's sitting right next to me with the exact same script, but the leading role, the guy who had played the leading role in a Broadway show I had just seen a couple of weeks ago. That's who we're competing with, real actors. So know that when you're doing voiceover, you're not an announcer, you're an actor. And that's, again, another reason why you need coaching. So after spending a couple of years in LA, I had an amazing offer to be the voice and the creative services director of WKTU in New York. This was during its legendary flame-throwing dance CHR days with larger-than-life personalities like Broadway Bill Lee, Vic Latino, Charlie Berger, and larger-than-life creative imaging. I was honored to receive the 2005 New York City Creative Services Director of the Year Award. And then in 2006, I was shown the door with a bunch of the rest of the staff as well. There was a management change and budget cuts, or RIFs, reductions in force, as they like to say in the corporate world. So my immediate gut reaction was to go get another radio job. That's what I had done throughout my whole career. But then I thought, experience shows me that my next radio job is just going to last a year or 2 or 3 or 4. Before there's some other budget cut or management change or something of that sort. It's kind of an endless path. And I had had enough. That needed to stop. So that is when I decided to stay in New York City and focus solely on my voiceover career. I went through some very rough, tight, and scary times, but things picked up just in the nick of time. And I've been out on my own now since 2006, and probably wouldn't have it any other way at this point. And as I said, I focused on being the voice of radio and TV stations. And that's a different business model. Your typical voiceover actor is auditioning for commercials and other types of narration projects. And you never know when you're going to book your next job or when that next paycheck's coming in. And that can be very, very stressful. So with being the voice of a station, you're typically contracted for a year or 2 at a time. And you have your monthly retainer check. So you know how much money you have coming in. Now I know what you're thinking, oh, I want to be the voice of radio and TV stations. And I say go for it, that's great, but do realize that is a very special niche in the industry. And it can take years to make yourself a known commodity to the point where program directors and creative directors at radio and TV stations will take a chance on hiring you to be the voice of their station. But with commercials and other types of VO, you can audition today and land the job today. And they don't care if you've been doing this for one day or 10 or 20 years. And so that's the beauty of doing voiceover. I would recommend immediately jumping into the commercial side. So if I were to sum things up on how to jumpstart a VO career, I'd say start with coaching and classes, and you have to network. Network like crazy. I could spend an hour giving you stories throughout my career of how one contact led to another, and to another, and to another, and it may have been years ago, and now I'm getting business from it. So definitely network. Do it organically. Be natural about it. There's nothing more annoying than when you see a person and you know they're talking to you only because they think you can do something for them. So just be natural about it and let things fall into place. And that's basically my short story. If you'd like to contact me, ask a question, or check out my work, you can find me at harrylegg.com. Thanks.